What is good? Oh, yeah. A little fresh crack-a-lack. Get you a little pour. We're in store for some Dynasty rankings. So we're going to talk some rankings, positional overall. We're going to look at the ffdynasty.com. If you haven't checked it out, go check that out. We're going to do some swipes, go over some crowdsource rankings that are there, go over some personal rankings of some questions we have right now. And then maybe we'll end with a little head over to mock draft database, maybe talk about some rookies, some projections first for on the way out. You know, get the taste buds tantalized. Cheers.
Yeah.
Big Co will be joining tonight, but he's going to be a late entry. So, Chev, how you doing, man?
Oh, man, I was just reminiscing on some fun times in an altered state of mind, walking around Kroger and stuff.
That's right. The first time I ever got to a Kroger was we were going to a music festival, and I'd never heard of a Kroger, and pulled up in the parking lot, and it was just needles everywhere. And I guess I guess this is the heroin grocery store.
Heroin Kroger is crazy. It's such a foreign experience to me. Like now that I live here, it's like, oh, Walmarts are trash in other places, but they're super nice here because the headquarters is here.
Yes.
But like, I guess Kroger would be the same way, but Kroger's not even headquartered in. We just have a bunch of them in Memphis.
Yeah. Cooper comes in with a question right off the rip, and it's we can get a question in right here. And then I did want to ask you if any combine news, notes, and information floated out there that threw the antennas up over the last 2 days.
Oh man, Ruben Bain shows up looking like he works on carburetors. I'm all in on him.
I love I thought the Ruben Bain interview today was great on Rich Eisen. Cooper says 10-man Superflex League sent the 109, the 111, the 112 for a 27 first and 204. Did I go 227 crazy? The 27 pick is at best mid. So you traded a bunch of back half ones for 120. Yeah, I'd probably say yes.
Yeah. I mean, you could have turned that into
10 team. Wait, so he said 10
team.
He said 10 team,
yeah.
But then there's 11 and 12 in there.
I guess he means 108, 109, 110. I'm assuming. Unless he just wanted to make up a trade to try to break our brains.
Maybe.
It's like maybe he's doing word Sudoku right here.
Maybe it was a 10 starter, potentially. Maybe that's what he meant. I don't know. But yeah, I would say to me that's too early to go flipping those right now. If I want to do that, I think I could probably wait another little bit. I think 9, and depending if it's like you said, if it's the final 4 of whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like if it's a 12-man, if it's the final 4, or if it's a 10-man in the final 4, I think it's too early. It's too much. Like this weekend, I think you're going to come out of here and there's all of a sudden, we talked about this on the last live show is, 8, 9, 10 is probably going to get juiced up with some way, somehow. Cause there's already people that are kind of slotted in there. It's just like, does somebody overtake them, or does it grow even stronger for those guys? Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I see this weekend playing out.
That's exactly how I see this weekend playing out. Like it is, there are guys with the Basil Tootin arc written all over them. That's just what it is, man. Like we're gonna have some people get really steamed up, and we don't know who those people are right now, but we'll have that information by Sunday morning.
Yeah, over the last 2 days out of nowhere, which I mean I know who he is and I've watched a little bit of him, but the Virginia Tech running back has gotten some love from the stat sheets guys. I know our guy Joey Stats liked him. I know there's 2 or 3 other guys out there that have been throwing a couple of things out there with him. Out there, so we shall see.
I mean that's the thing. I mean, it's gonna hopefully it crystallizes the opinions that we validated over the course of the last month and a half watching film with some people, and then some people that aren't on the radar at all right now will be firmly on everyone's radar. And everybody's gonna want to be first about it. So that's just the nature of the beast. So yeah, it's a little early to make a determination like that. But this does technically, this falls right into Big Co's lap. So yeah, Why don't you throw the trade up there so Big Co can look at it?
Okay. Real quick, this guy said, I'm afraid of Jacobs and Rice. Should I combo them for? Yeah, well, so the first question was from Coop Cooper. He said, 10 team league, super flex. He then amended it down here because we weren't sure what happened, but he said 109, 111, 112 for a 27 first and 204. And then he said the picks are actually, 2-1, 2-2 when you get a little later, obviously, because there is no, the
Right.
11 and 12 is 2-1 and 2-2. So I said for me, that's too early to be doing that just to trade, 3 for 2 at this point. I don't want to do that. Too early for me. We just kind of recap that those picks, I think, will get a little stronger. And we talked about that on the last show, is just catching you up. Like, hey, 8, 9, 10 is probably going to get a little stronger here, whether it's this weekend or through the more of the process and all the stuff combined. So thoughts?
Yeah. I think the big first part is it says at best it's a mid pick.
Right. If it was for a top pick and a lottery, top 4.
If he was like, no chance this is worse than top 3 and I have a chance at the 1-1, that's a lot more of a conversation.
Right. Right. All right. So this guy says it's a lot of numbers and letters. He says he's afraid of Jacobs and Rice. Should I combo them in some sort of tier up? If so, who should I target? That's a very open-ended question.
Afraid of Jacobs and Rice and maybe tearing up, he says.
Yeah.
For some, it seems like right now, Josh Jacobs is going to be discounted until football starts again.
Mm-hmm. Talk about it.
I wouldn't trade Josh Jacobs right now. You do.
Well, I think what will happen is they've kind of already alluded to it, that he's coming back. And I think once he's locked in for the Packers, at least for another year, that at least gives people some more confidence in Josh. And then people can start being like, look at how good he was pre-injury. Right. Because that's what we're remembering. We're remembering a beat up Josh at the end of the season, limping around and trying to play for his team.
Right.
And that's not the Josh that we were getting in the first half of the season.
Yeah. He had I put the team on my back going on at the end of the year. Like, he wasn't healthy. But the beginning of the year, that's the real Josh Jacobs. That's the Josh Jacobs we've known since he's been in the NFL. So if you want to get out of the Jacobs business, it's just not best to do it right now. Like, there's zero chance that his value is 0 once football starts.
Right.
If he gets cut, he goes somewhere else, and he's going to be the one, like the leader of a committee at worst.
To me, it's both guys are in low positions, right? So unless you're just trying to sell pennies on the dollar because you're scared in general, but like, there's nothing. Jacobs is going to go in there and start playing good football. So a good fantasy team, it might take you 4 or 5 weeks to get rid of Jacobs, but somebody's going to want Jacobs, right? Because he's going to be putting up fantasy points. And we don't know exactly what's going to pan out with Rice, but it's just, you just said it, Big Co. Chev, you've talked about it a million times. Once there's fantasy points being scored, when we don't know the legalities of the Rice thing, but like, the value will bounce back, right? Or at least level out, or at least everybody will know kind of what the scene has been painted. So I would say if you want to sell, just sell Rice by himself. And if that's a low sale with like nickels on the dollar and you can live with that, that's fine. I would leave Jacobs out of it if you're scared of the Rice thing.
We were doing the mock now, and Josh Jacobs gets drafted 3 picks before Judkins, right? I'll trade you Josh Jacobs right now and take Judkins straight up and put Judkins on my team. For the Rashee Rice, if let's say something crazy happens and he does not play football for a year, that's an option that people have floated out. We have no idea what those odds are right now. It's just a possibility, however may small that possibility be, right? So like he went 4.7, which is an approximate value. It's a mock, but like, Mendoza's there, so that's for the 1-1. I doubt somebody's just going to give you the 1-1 for Rashee Rice, because on paper that looks not great right this second, but that they're get drafted right beside each other in a mock draft. Nico Collins, maybe you wanted to just, I could see if you wanted to get out of the Rashee Rice business, like taking a safe bet, just be like, hey, I'll take Jared Goff as a super flex quarterback. Just somebody in that range I was looking at here. Lad McConkey, I'd probably rather have Rashee Rice, but like Garrett Wilson or Tyler Warren on that same like next 4 or 5 picks either direction, just looking at guys. I might trade 1 for 1 just to get, just to safely move my equity over. Like if they're playing football tomorrow, I'd probably rather have Rashee Rice over Garrett Wilson, but Garrett Wilson's not in, he's on the Jets, but he's not in impending potential allegations, right?
Right.
Yeah. Like there's no potential he's going to be playing for the longest yard team anytime soon.
That's
right.
Like him and Paul Crew, he's going to be catching passes from Paul Crew.
Hey, Paul, I appreciate you. I'm going to say something to him. That's Tracy Morgan. Hey, Paul, I appreciate you. That's such an underrated movie, man. That's such an underrated movie. I was just showing him some wrestling moves. Longest yards.
I'm always so jealous. Casey's able to like do good voices. I cannot do any voices of anybody, and he's good at it. I've always been jealous of that.
Tracy Morgan crushes that shit. Josh Jacobs is at 89 right now and 90. I was just switching back and forth between tight end premium and PPR. The FF Dynasty Crowdsource rankings right now. So he's dancing right around there. So what's that, Chev?
That's so disrespectful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's later than this mock draft at 6'9".
I think in general, public is saying, hey, obviously that he's older and there's not football being played in the last thing we saw. So I think as the world turns, we'll see Josh Jacobs climb a little bit, right? And right now we've just got an injection of fun, exciting new players. But I don't suspect that Josh Jacobs will climb, more than 10 spots. I don't think by
no, I think maybe 10 spots from where you are on the website there to like puts him in the range of where he's drafted here on this mock draft.
Yeah,
into 6'9", because that's like about 70 picks.
Javonte,
at 80. Yeah.
Here's Rashi's way down on this 174. So Rashi's, cruising down on this, probably a little more updated than that potential mock right there.
Well, it's a mock of our guys too, right? These are, most of the guys in this mock are in the Patreon community, hanging out, listening.
Yeah. So the Lawn Beast 1644, he said, I got a bunch of bums never pan out. QJ, Pearsall, Richardson, Brooks, Downs. Dynasty is tough. Not really sure what that is. Just a statement, I guess. But I mean, dude, you just got to bounce back from QJ. I think Pearsall is going to be really good. Richardson's quite the wild card. Brooks, that was terrible luck. And Josh Downs just needs the opportunity. So, like, it's okay. Those guys can't be the guys that you're relying on to start every week. If
you look at it, I think that's what he's saying. I think if you look at those names right there and you're like, that's the last 3 years of first and second round draft picks for that man. It couldn't have gotten any less totally unlucky in 3 years combined, right? Yeah, you got the bounce back from QJ, but before this season, he felt awfully dead. And Pearsall got shot, gets his knee hurt. He comes back, and right when he's starting to look healthy, he gets tackled out of bounds funny and hurts his leg and ankle again. That's running cold right there with your draft picks. And look, like you said, Josh Downs, Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson could have had a darling of the last 4 or 5 games of the season for us, but he had a fluky broken eye socket. Like we just, you know what I mean? Like who knows? Maybe that's the best thing that could have happened to him, and he gets another offseason to get right.
Well,
if he's headed that direction.
Big D had kind of painted that Anthony Richardson picture out in the beginning of that competition and we kind of had talked about it too. Is like, it's when DJ first came to town, like it's almost better for DJ to win it. Maybe something happened to DJ and then Richardson come in and play the savior instead of Richardson comes in, doesn't play well, gets usurped by DJ. So it almost lined up perfectly to be really fun and at least get a look at him. But like you said, Big Co, some bad luck there. So you just had a little bit of bad juju. This season, QJ, was good. You could at least get out from underneath QJ here without a complete loss right now, where he was being drafted in the 200s, last season. So that's a come up. Josh Downs is down a little bit, but it ain't going to take much for him to bounce back up. The public loves Josh Downs. Anthony Richardson, you're kind of stuck with right now for a minute, but that's fine. Just store him away for a rainy day. See if something bounces back. And Pearsall, I don't think I think you're good, man. That value is going to be just fine.
Pearsall. I think you're very good on Pearsall. Still buying any dip that you find in those streets, and I'm gonna say now, I'm ready to pounce on super cheap Anthony Richardson this year. I'm not afraid to admit it. I'll re-roll at a much cheaper price. I bought high and then I bought low, and I'll buy lower. It's average cost per share, right? Obviously, I wish that I didn't buy the high the first time. That sucked. But the 10th and the 11th round Anthony Richardson last year, that was a nice home run cut. Sam Darnold worked. He didn't, right?
Yeah.
Sam Darnold was picked like a round ahead of Anthony Richardson last year in startup drafts, and because we didn't know if he could stick. All we saw was the two last Rams games and Rams Vikings, or just getting blown up, seeing ghosts again. And Anthony Richardson had a chance, never got on the field. I'll buy him. What is he? 13th round.
Might get 6 games this year, to start the season. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, if he plays well, like, he's going to be the starter, and you now got an elite threat in terms of what he represents fantasy wise. So yeah, I like that point a lot. I don't 13-6 last mock, Chef, for Anthony Richardson. Mid 13th round pick. I got that in my bag all day for him. Yeah, that's a great process. I don't mind that at all. It's just been, like you said, a terrible run out. I think that, with Quentin Johnston, you had a window at the first 5 weeks of the season to try to recoup, to try to get out of that business. Now you're gonna have to wait till football and he gets played. I mean, he's back active again. I mean, 16 touchdowns the last couple of years. It's not. It's there. It's just not. I mean, he's their vertical threat. Whatever. We got one more year on this deal. I'm pretty sure they're going to decline his 5th-year option. So this is basically a contract year for him. So he could be sneaky. He could be a sneaky value, and then you can unload him. I mean, he could have an Alec Pierce style year and just do really cool stuff and go get a bag somewhere else.
Yeah. This has got Anthony Richardson at QB 36 right here. Superflex PPR.
That's value no matter how you slice it.
I think that's kind of right on time though, right? So Milroe or Anthony Richardson.
Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I'm still team A-Rich as well.
Yeah, Milroe is a team version of Anthony Richardson.
Same reason. I'll take them both.
And I think Malik Willis is probably way too low in here.
Yeah,
but all right. Anything from the combine here that has sent anybody's antennas up from the first couple of days of news, notes, GMs talking, coaches talking. I've heard Rich Eisen has had a bunch of these coaches and GMs on. I was super impressed with the Dolphins, with Hafley or Hafley. Is that is that his name?
I didn't hear that one. I gotta check it out.
And the GM, drawing a blank on the GM's name right now.
Greer?
It's a double name. No. In Miami. He's got a double. He's a double last name. Drawing a blank on it. Anyway, came away very impressed with them. They kind of alluded to Tua, everything being on the table with Tua, right? They've talked to him.
It's Chris Greer.
In Miami?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Are you sure?
I mean, you can fact check me, or you can trust the CBS Sports report.
It's John Eric Sullivan is their GM. Chris Greer was their GM.
Wait. Oh yeah. Okay.
Chris Greer's on the way out.
Yeah, Chris Greer's out of there. It was a
John Eric Sullivan. Who the fuck is that?
That's the Packers guy. He's been under.
Okay, so that's how they got halfway.
Kuntz, and so yeah, so that they're very familiar with each other. That was, and they've been apparently just really honest and open with each other as far as just being with the Packers for a while and being able to be critical of one another. So it seems like a good relationship already in that office, which I think is huge. They have to be able to pick the right players. And then the Tua situation was interesting, right? Of just saying, hey, we talked to him. We said everything's on the table. We'll see what happens. I don't really have a lean one way or the other there. Obviously, I think as from where they're at, they would probably like to move forward and wipe it clean. But maybe you do run it one time with Tua, right? Any thoughts about the Dolphins and Tua here?
Yeah. Do you want to put the underwear with the shit stain back in them? Like, do you want to put those back on, or do you want to just put a new pair on? That's what this seemed like. like, hey, man. I mean, it's either put some new ones on, or you can put those shitty ones on. That's kind of how it feels. I mean, the contract also is a bit of an albatross, but I mean, they're not competing, so why wouldn't they just let? Hey, it's like in Wolf of Wall Street. It's like, I just went out to a field and I just pushed him out of the car and I just said, go be free. Like, let Tua be free. Nobody wants him. That's the problem. It's like his trade value has tanked.
Well, I think there's just because of the contract, the trade value's tanked. If they're it's just like Kyler. If they're willing to eat something or figure out a way to finesse a deal, like there's not 32 quarterbacks that are better than him right now, right? And we've seen some really good play from Tua. I mean, like top 10 play from Tua, like as far as being out there slinging it around, being able to run an offense. Like, I don't know what kind of offense they're going to be running there. I mean, it's going to be a Bobby Slowick, I guess, offense, right? We've seen him have success with CJ Stroud. We've seen him hit a wall with CJ Stroud. The jury's still out on Slowick a little bit, but if you're going to say we're going to have shades of Shanahan offense, Tua can run that.
Ooh.
I'm trying to shine a positive light because this is just how things go. Tua hasn't been good. He's been hurt, yada, yada, yada. But there has been really good stretches from Tua and a good season from Tua, right? And so it's not like, all of a sudden he's the worst quarterback on earth. But I agree. I don't think they want to move forward with him. But I think if they had to for a season, I don't think it's the end of the world.
My further negativity against your positive light, which you proved true. You proved true to be good on this stuff every offseason when the negativity is just piling up on a player for multiple reasons. But I think if you look at the best year that Tua had was basically that first, Mike McDaniel, Tyreek Hill combination. I don't think the defenses were quite ready for that type of anticipation, and Tyreek Hill's ridiculous abilities after the catch. That combination was nasty, right? Well, things happen, and then Tua gets hurt multiple times in a row. I don't think we've seen it feels like we're so far away from what the best play that we've seen from Tua before. And I'm really, I'll spin that over and just say, hey, what is Mike McDaniel going to look like this year with a Justin Herbert, where like his entire offense, was based around a quarterback that couldn't move, and it was like getting the ball out of his hands before he gets touched, right? So you got that. Like, we could see what Mike McDaniel's made of this year, and I just feel like
you also have to, like, Mike, he played well in that system and well enough for Mike McDaniel to say, yeah, we'll move forward with this guy, and I got confidence in him. So there has to be some good there, right?
So yeah, but that was
which again is kind of, it's not all that, I know Mike McDaniel's probably running some different stuff than Slowick, but both coming from a Shanahan thing. So there should be some familiarity in kind of what's going on there, right?
Maybe that's Mike McDaniel's saying, hey, if we keep Tua
and the Herbert side of things, of course Herbert's much better than Tua at this point.
I'm just like, the Mike McDaniel we know right now has Achane looked good last year with a quarterback that couldn't move, and what the offensive play calls were based on, we're scared of getting this guy hurt, and maybe you say, oh, well, they weren't playing, they weren't calling it for that, but we all saw it, right?
Yeah.
It's bad. I think we're just so far away from what he's the top end to I don't think we see anything like that again.
What you got, Chev? You look like you really hate this.
I mean, Tua is never going to be good for fantasy purposes ever again. If we want to talk about him as like a real NFL quarterback, sure, but I don't think he's like listen to what Darren Waller and Tyreek and all these people say about how awesome he is in practice. Like it gives you hope that it could happen. But you know, it's the same thing as a guy who leaves his best rounds in the sparring ring and can't do it when the lights come on. So that's my biggest issue, is that somehow or another, like his teammates have confirmed that he gets shell shocked, and that he, like, whenever it's live bullets, like he just can't do it. So that's a big issue for me. I would love to see Malik Willis, get some Jalen Waddle action. Maybe they bring back my sweet Prince Greg Dulcich. Maybe we get Unleashed Achane and they just give him 350 touches and ruin his career. Who knows? Maybe it's something really cool like that. I don't know.
Shout out to
Daniel.
We got Fantasy Jesus. We love you. I'm assuming I'm Fantasy Jesus, so I'll take it. But
it's good company.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, Daniel.
Are you with me? All right.
Definitely wouldn't talk about me or Chev. Did we talk? Did you
talking about white Jesus or black Jesus?
Did that Pitts question come in recently?
No, we can shimmy back up to that for a second. We are going to get to some rankings talk here at some point. But there's questions coming in and things going in different directions. There was a Pitts question. Where did it go?
It's 2 above Daniel's.
Was it? Am I crazy for being lower on Pitts after the franchise tag? Feels like healthy London and Penix is mid. He only blew up when the number one pass catching option, when he was the number one pass catching option in Atlanta. Chev, what you think?
Go ahead.
I mean, that's fairly asinine, man. Like, he had 118 targets over the course of the season. Are we saying that he was only targeted in games where Drake London wasn't playing? It doesn't. I understand like the feeling versus what the sentiment actually is, but I mean that's way too hyperbolic to actually be helpful to anybody. Like I think Kyle Pitts is good. I mean, yes, he's the tight end too, and it's so far of a gap between him and Trey McBride, but he very clearly is a plus pass catching option. And this is somebody I'm a Florida fan. I was in on Kyle Pitts, and he really pissed me off over the last couple of years. And then all of a sudden he got his powers back. See, this is what we need to figure out, is if there was just a mass release of people's abilities to be good again. Because Javonte got his powers back. Kyle Pitts got his powers back. All right. I'm still waiting on Jalen Waddle and DK Metcalf to get their shit back.
There was a fire. The fire department came. They put it out, and
now all of a sudden they're good at football.
Insurance kicked in, and they're good at football.
And they're back up. We back up. Let them know we back up.
So maybe this is his year. Maybe the Monstars are going to release his powers.
No, man, that shit left like life XP. Every time you could just see like minus XP leaving every time he got a concussion. His fingers ended up like this.
Daniel says Olave got his powers back too.
Olave, yes. See,
hey, maybe there's can only be so many powers at once.
Yeah, you can't mass release the powers. Then, you'll have just regular dudes out there doing cool stuff.
I will say, when we were doing the P-Whopper stuff with Joseph all season long, that Pitts was great with the P-Whopper, right? And was crushing the middle of the field, and it did not look like Penix being in there was willing to throw to the middle of the field as much as somebody like a Kirk Cousins. So I almost think it's more of a Kirk thing than a Penix thing. Now we're going to get Penix in there. We have a different OC. That did seem to be a problem where Penix wasn't necessarily a huge middle of the field guy. Yeah. So I think there can be some questions there. I think Pitts in general, though, I don't think there's a concern, although it just leads me to believe, like, how injured was he? How much effort was going into it? And then it seemed like, oh, we're back on track. Does he get paid and the effort go away? That's my only little, I don't love that. What do you got, Chev?
We also must note that noted terrorist Arthur Smith was responsible for a couple of those bad seasons with Kyle Pitts. We can't go without saying.
He gave him the best one, though, didn't he?
No, he wasn't there for
That was
2021.
that was the second one. Yeah, Big Co.
Yeah.
What did you have? You were about to come in hot and heavy. What were you?
Well, the question, he said it looks like with him being on the Falcons, he's got London and Penix. I don't think anybody thought Pitts was going to leave the Falcons and just go be the number one target earner on somebody else's offense. Anyway, so you keep him in. If he stays in, if they actually keep him and they don't trade him, which sounds like they want to keep him. They're talking about Stefanski, raving about him anyway. So like, keep him in the dome, keep him there. Maybe his powers come back around for another season, like you said, Chev. I mean, I think he looked fantastic this year, and yeah, I mean, Kirk Cousins definitely was peppering him when London was out, so that is something to think about. But what he showed us is what we wanted to see out of him. So like, let's not knock it now because what kind of volume he might get next year. Like, all we need to see out of a tight end that with that much draft capital and that much expectation and that much dynasty value put into him, just a few short years ago, and it's been dropping, and now look at, my man put up like a 50-point game, and it wasn't just one game. It wasn't like, 3 or 4 fluky touchdowns, and it was 4 or 5 games in a row where he was making plays, and then one of them happened to be they couldn't stop him. Like, it was like, yeah, London was out and Kirk was throwing it his way, and literally the defense had no way to stop him. So,
yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't be lower on Pitts after the franchise. I don't think I'd be lower on any tight end playing with Stefanski.
Yeah, that's the biggest the biggest takeaway from all that point, is that Kevin Stefanski is the tight end whisperer. He had David Njoku on pace for 149 targets in the 2024 season, I believe. Mm-hmm. So that's a really positive signal, in my opinion. Like, this is new GM, coach coming together saying, hey, what do you need to make this deal work? And it's like, well, I need at least one more shot at Kyle Pitts. So let's give him one more shot at this whole deal to get, so that we can see if we need to give him, $80 or $90 million, or we need to just cut ties and go get somebody else.
Yeah. Coming in at Kyle Pitts at the ffdynasty.com, coming in at tight end 8 right now in tight end premium, just below Fannin, Kraft, and Laporta. So that's kind of that seems about right for me. Is there
that feels
who's right. Under him? Who's right underneath him?
Sadiq is right underneath him. Then Gadsden, Kincaid, Ferguson, Strange.
Like
that. Have you taken Gasson over Pitts?
No, I'm gonna take Pitts over. I'm gonna take Pitts over Gasson right now. I was saying Sadiq over Gasson. I don't know if I like that right now.
Yeah, it's just new and hot, and
yeah. Hey, male pattern rookie horniness. It's fine. It's fine.
That's right. That's right. You need to get some hymns.
Yeah.
And relax a second. Ken says, I think Javonte is the best buy right now. Unless he gets hurt, you can buy him for a late 26 first and get a 27 first at the trade deadline. Okay. So you're saying you can buy, use, and then resell.
That's smart.
I don't necessarily disagree there.
Everything except for the 27 first part of the deadline. I mean, just the way we play Dynasty and the way 27 first is going to be hyped up. It's already started before this draft isn't even over yet, and and there's another college football season coming. You know,
well, you gotta. It'd basically be turning it to somebody who's a contender, right? They're like, I'm willing to win money over the 27 class, right? That's kind of what you're.
Sure.
You're hoping for.
Yeah.
Somebody who has their head on right and is trying to win. Crazy.
I'm just saying, like, you get.
I know what you're saying.
You already got 4 or 5 quarterbacks people want to talk about right now. As of today, there's like 5 Peyton Mannings coming, and I saw somebody on Twitter
5
the other
Peyton
day,
Mannings, 1 Jerry Rice, 1.
There's 6 Bijan Robinsons coming out. So there's all your first round picks for 2027. That's worth way more than Javonte Williams. So. Yeah. I don't mind the idea. I just wouldn't bet.
I don't mind buying and using him, though.
No, I don't mind buying him and using him, but I don't want to buy him thinking I'm going to trade him for a 27 first later, because that's likely not going to. I mean, somebody will pull it off, but odds are you're not going to get that done.
Yeah, we're going to be in the middle of the season, and you're going to have to lose 1 or 2 running backs as a contender to even consider that move, because we're all aware of what is potentially coming in 2027, right? So, hey, that one I could get, I could be at the 112 and I'm going to get a really good player because all those quarterbacks that are coming out are pushing skill value down the board in superflex. So it's gonna take some football happening, but I see his point. At first, I was like, ugh, nobody's gonna give up 27 first, but timing the market.
Yeah, I can smell it. I can feel it. Anything else from the combine in general so far? Obviously, we're just in like the interview stuff, but did anybody take anything else away there? I don't have anything. I thought Minter represented himself pretty well.
Yes, that was a big takeaway from. That's the only one that I've seen that I was like, oh, okay. So the signal that they've been putting out with hiring Atlanta's offensive line coach, then going to getting Declan Doyle. I think they're going to build it. They're building it a lot like they did in Chicago, and that's going to be great for Zay Flowers. It's going to be great for Derrick Henry. It's going to be great for Zay Flowers. It's going to be easy button efficiency.
Seemed like they had a lot of under center. We're going to pound it. We want to run it.
Yes.
And so should be good for your Derrick Henrys, maybe for our Keaton Mitchells. Keep him on the keep your thumb on that. And then I don't know how they don't bring back Likely in the situation of Doyle coming from, a Sean Payton plus a Ben Johnson. Like maybe they go a different direction, but like you have it in house already. I think everybody knows that that Likely could be, your that kind of wide receiver-esque tight end at the position, and you sign Andrews now for long term. So maybe, or at least you gave him some money for another year or two. And you could kind of have obviously I don't think Likely is Colston Loveland, but like you could kind of have that same situation where you've got a veteran who's good and a younger guy who can do different things, right? Now maybe they draft another one or bring somebody in free agency, but I don't know how they can't. And it looks, from everything I've read, they said that they really wouldn't mind getting something done with Likely.
Sneaky spot to look out for a tight end to land there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you got to be wheels up if tight ends are landing there, right?
To throw a couple like super late deep names. There's a super athletic dude out of Wyoming named John Michael Gillenborg that screams Baltimore Raven. And then you got the traditional guys like Max Clare and a couple other guys that people are going to be horned up about. But if they're going to get a pass catching tight end, I would look out for them to draft one if they can't get it done with Likely. I think Likely's going to get a bag somewhere else too.
I think that's the problem, is he's got to see what he can get somewhere else and then say, all right, well, can we be in this range? And can I get used more? Because it was like his usage was just like he'd be so good and then just back on the shelf. It seemed, right?
Yeah. Like every down tight end, Isaiah Likely. Is he a top 10 dynasty tight end?
I think so.
That's what I'm saying. Like he sees that. I'm sure he thinks that too.
Yeah.
Not from a dynasty perspective, but I like, hey, I'm as good as all these other dudes. I just don't get the rock like that.
Yeah. All right. Matt asked for a quick take on Jordan Love. That's a good place to hop in here, right? Because we could do some QB rankings here. I know, Chev, you had a couple of questions about some QB ranks. Let's rank Jordan Love right now with the quarterbacks. What do you say?
Come on.
All right. Right now in Superflex tight end premium, let's go to the quarterbacks. Let's get off the tight ends. Now you could do all, or you can function through QB, running back, tight end. You can have multiple on it at once, right? So we can just go to quarterback, and we go to Jordan Love here. He's at 16 in the tight end premium. Let's see where he is in just the regular PPR here. He's at 15 in this one. So relatively close, right?
Yeah.
Where do you guys, Big Co, I think you're probably the biggest lover. Where's your radar land on Love here?
Yeah, looking for him in the startup right here.
I mean, you're taking Brock Purdy over Love, right?
Yeah.
You're taking Bo Nix over Love, right?
Yes.
Trevor Lawrence.
Sure.
Yeah, you weren't last year, so that's a fun one. Not you personally, but everybody.
No, I wasn't taking Trevor Lawrence over Jordan Love last year either.
You taking Ferdinand Magellan Mendoza or Jordan Love?
Um,
What do you got, Chev?
I mean, I'm taking Jordan Love.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I do think here's the thing. I think that Fernando Mendoza with Clint Kubiak is a match made in heaven, but I'll still take the proven production with Jordan Love and that upside. Like, hey, I can get the floor outcome that I expect from Fernando Mendoza for the first like year or two, and I could get the ceiling outcome that Jordan Love gave us in 2020. What was it, 2023 or 2024? Like whatever it was, 2023, where he was like QB5 or QB6. I can get that, and he's 27 years old. So if you just want to re-roll and you're not going to contend for the next 2 years, sure, take Fernando Mendoza, try to figure it out. But at the same time, why would you do that?
So we're clicking Love in this Mendoza heads up here.
I would. Yeah.
I mean, you're probably right, Chev. I mean, I talk so much about the question marks on quarterbacks we haven't seen play in the NFL, and just Love's been good enough. I really love the upside on Love, and just like you said, the floor of Love is actually pretty dang good. If he has been hurt a couple times, not Joe Burrow hurt, but he has been nicked up here and there, and that's cost him a couple games with ankles and et cetera, and shoulders this year, ankles last year, shoulders this year.
Right. And we also need to remember that offensive line was banged up, some of their best players on that offensive line. And that's not an excuse necessarily, but like you can see plays of quarterbacks wax and wane off of that, especially, somebody who's Love, who's maybe not the upper echelon guys, but once a lot, he's somebody who will hold the ball. Right. And so when you got a little bit more protection, obviously, I'm not saying anything crazy here, but like they were missing some really good key players on the offensive line throughout the season, plus dealing with some, wide receiver injuries. Jacobs got injured, right? So that, they were banged up. Defense was, Packers got a little banged up last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we all think Love can make all the plays, make all the throws. There are times where you're looking around going like, well, what are you doing? But he also, I mean, at the end of the day, he's a little older, but he hasn't played like an insane amount of football, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like coming out of the college levels, it wasn't like he played an insane amount, right? And then he comes into the pros and sits for a while, which is great. And I think he's risen. And I think he's kind of settled right in here, right where kind of he belongs. Would you guys take Cam Ward or Jordan Love?
Jordan Love.
Titans enthusiast.
Oh, I blacked out for a second. I'm sorry. What was the question?
Cam Ward, Jordan Love.
I blacked out again. Oh man, we gotta move on.
You want to plead the fifth on that one, huh?
No, I mean the answer is Jordan Love. But again, this is the time of year where I start getting aggressive visions in my head about what Cam Ward could be, and I just there's no reason. I feel like in a real environment, real trade where you're going back and forth with somebody, if you're trying to do something to go from Jordan Love to Cam Ward, I don't think that there's a world where you just click that button straight up. You're going to ask for something in addition to. So that's the case, and I have to go Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So FF Dynasty, theFFDynasty.com. We're looking at crowdsource rankings, superflex, PPR, and we're filtered just by QB. But you can obviously go all or whatever you want to do here. Let me go ahead.
Give me 3 minutes on Jordan Love here, since I've been clicking around here, because the comment was that Jordan Love's been a nice value in the mock drafts. And so, Chev, to further what we've seen out of Jordan Love, I'm gonna just go back, like quick game log recaps of just fantasy points scored 2 years ago. 23, 20, 25, 19, 7 bye week, 16, 15, 13, 18, 20, 26, 23, 9, 17, 23, 28, 18, 22, and 16, and two games in the playoffs. So like those are QB1 numbers right there. 2 years ago, that was his first real, like, second season as a starter, maybe something like that. But that also probably, Chev, would coincide with the Packers defense that was getting shredded. So their offense is pushing. So you get a little bit better defense last year, and now, he gets hurt that first game at Philly on the road last year, 17, but he gets hurt, doesn't finish, misses a couple weeks. but then he comes in and plays 31, 17, 26, 18, nicked up, has a bad couple weeks, 6, 11 bye week, but then comes back and finishes 21, 15, 18, 15, 17, and a couple bad weeks at the end of the year, hurt again. So, bad taste in your mouth last year. So a nice little value this season coming into the drafts that we just had. And then this year starts a little banged up too, but 15, 20, 12, 26, 16, 13, 28, gets hurt, a couple bad weeks in a row, comes back, looks fresh, 25, 20, blah, blah, blah. So like to your point, Chev, the safety of Jordan Love's, the upside and the floor is not very low, right? He's between his athleticism and running around and getting a couple yards here and there. I think just the Packers defense in the last year and a half coming together, you're not in as much of a shootout every game. Then you could say, well, the Bears are a shootout now. The Vikings were not shootout this year, so that's 2 games. It's just.
But we know how fast.
The Lions are shootouts, right? The Lions is a shootout. The Bears are going to be a shootout from now. The Vikings want to be a shootout team. They'd love to be a shootout team. So like just in the division there, all those games that they get to play kind of thing. I think Jordan fantastic value based on where you are in the draft and what you're getting, which is a starting quarterback.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask y'all this. Do you feel like with Jordan Love, it's kind of like the Dak Prescott discount that we were getting last year?
Yes, but with the caveat of the Packers are probably never going to throw that much.
Yes,
you kind of knew that like in general, for the most part, that Dak can perform. It's been up and down, but we know he's pretty good. So in that regard, yes. In another regard, I think, I don't think you're ever going to see that much unless there's a fundamental shift out of the floor, that much passing attack from the Packers.
Right. Obviously, it's not a 1-to-1 comparison.
Sure.
I'm just saying in terms of
I can smell it.
Yeah.
But also in that Josh Jacobs, we're not throwing it all over the place. Packers offense, they have that solid play action pass, which Jordan Love crushes at, and you bring back a healthy Tucker Kraft and a Christian Watson got his powers back too. So stock up Jordan Love if they don't trade him and sign Malik Willis.
So we're Baker, Goff, Dak. We want all those guys under Love.
I would take Goff over Jordan Love.
Yeah, the people hate Goff.
Yeah, but again, it goes back to how he finished out he just absolutely fried you in championship week. And it just it's, it doesn't have anything to do with him. It had more to do with Brian Flores just absolutely putting him in a blender, had him in the walls of Jericho.
Yeah. I've got my rankings pulled up, and I've got Goff and Baker floating right around Love.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same tier.
I would almost rather have Baker, just because the aggressive nature of how he's going to attack it, right? Which is not necessarily Love's forte game after game, right?
If we're talking,
go ahead,
Cole.
For the tiers, I just took Jordan Love and Jared Goff back to back at the 4-12, 5-1 turn in this mock, and I loved it.
Yeah, that's
just the stability. Like I neither one of those are home run picks, but they're both like double. You might get to slide into third because you didn't mess it up. Like I got 2 quarterbacks, and before those picks, I got 3 studs. I got Gibbs and Puka and Colston Loveland in the first 3 rounds, and then I just got 2 quarterbacks, and now I'm like I got my base for my team set. A stud at each position and 2 quarterbacks that are solid. Neither one of them are Joe Burrow, but I got him at 4-12 and 5-1.
Yeah. If Dak is 2 or 3 years younger, it's Dak all day over pretty much all of those guys, right? But should it just be Dak over all those guys anyway?
Yeah, probably still.
No,
but he feels older because he's had broken legs and stuff.
Go ahead, Jeff.
And his hammy fell off a couple, last year before last. Right.
Yeah.
It feels older, but Dak's a better quarterback than those guys. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Dak's the better quarterback, but in terms of consistent fantasy output, you're not going to get, Baker has the highest ceiling. We know this, right? We've seen him go 4,504, 41 touchdowns. Goff is the safest. Like, hey, like you said, to borrow, now you're going to slide in the third sometimes. You're going to have a real high on-base percentage if your quarterback room is Jordan Love and Jared Goff. And you're not gonna have a bunch of weeks where your quarterback position is lagging and you only get like 16 points combined from those guys. So I feel I love what you said, Big Co, because that safety, right? That safety gives you an artificially higher ceiling on any given week, because if those studs that you got go off, you're gonna be damn near unbeatable.
It gives me flexibility too, and not having to pressure the quarterback on the way. I mean, in a real, this mock only goes however many rounds, but like, I'm going to be taking the Anthony Richardsons, etc. I'm going to be taking quarterbacks on the way out. I'll be looking for a Daniel Jones cheap. I got to replace my Sam Darnolds and my, those. Not Brock Purdy's, but 2 years ago, because when his arm fell off, he got cheap, but he's obviously not anywhere close to cheap now. But I got to find the Mac Joneses and the Malik Willises of the world. I got to find those guys again this year, because they came up. Now I got to go back down to the well and find some more.
Yeah, maybe Rattler, but I would say I'm probably still going Dak and Baker over Love in a startup right now.
I don't knock that. I mean, I think I did the thing in the mock that we're in right now. I took Dak. I'm ignoring the every other year thing, and I'm just saying, all right, this is a myth. It's not real. Dak's gonna be good, and Burrow's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Because they alternate.
To be clear,
back to the powers.
Dak was already gone. At 4-4, Dak got taken in this mock, but Baker was on the board. So I took Jordan Love and Goff over Baker, but Dak was already gone, so I didn't have to make that decision.
Yeah. All right, wow. Chev, you had posed the question of ranking Penix and Shough, I believe.
Yep.
All right, so let's get to business on that one.
Okay. All right.
Let's go with Captain Durag, as you so lovingly call him or refer to him.
That's right.
How do we move forward with Penix? Because I'm still fine with drafting him, and to me, Big Co, kind of like you're saying right now, like obviously. He's not nearly as low as what you were getting some of those guys that you were talking about, the Darnolds. But he's pretty close to where you were having to draft Darnold last year, right? It's not terribly far. It's like, 8, 9, 10, which Darnold was probably like 12, 10 or 10 to 12, somewhere in there. And maybe higher.
In the late ones, he got up in the 9s. 8 and 9s in the late ones.
So how are you guys viewing Penix? Because I think I'm probably was the leader in the Penix clubhouse.
Definitely.
I think I think your confidence has to be a little wavered, but I think all the tools are still there, right? So Chev, go ahead.
High quality QB3 right now. High quality. I mean, the best bench asset that you could just stash away and improve the value of your team as a whole, just by him going out, being healthy, and playing good football again. Like he didn't play consistently good football last year. I mean, when he did, it was because Drake London was the wide receiver 1 overall on like 3 or 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But that had more to do with Drake London being light-skinned Al-Gaib than anything else. So I think at the price point, right? At the price point that you can get him right now, it is dirt cheap. And you're just, you've got 2 quarterbacks already. You take a third and you just sit and wait, because that's a walking first round pick plus if he goes out and throws 30 touchdowns this year.
Yeah.
So to me, it represents a great buy opportunity. I was slightly discouraged by how inconsistent he was. I just don't know what the ceiling is going to be. But really, I just want him to find a consistency, like a floor of consistency. And that's why he's in that range that he's in.
What do you think, Big Co?
Yeah. So his rookie season, he didn't play to the very end of the year. He has, 100% of the snaps in week 16 against the Giants, and the same against Washington. He has 7 fantasy points in 12. But then that week 18 game that we love so much, he had 26 points against the Panthers in week 18. And then we had to sit all off season and wait. And then he comes back to Shev's point this year and is very inconsistent. Like the first couple games when Drake London was a stud, I would have imagined that Penix scored more points. The first week it was 24. That was magical. Week 2 at Minnesota, Flores on the road, 5 points. Week 3 at Carolina, when we expected him to spank the Panthers, he gets 5 more fantasy points. The next week at home against, Washington, almost said Redskins, gets 19. Bye week, 14, 12 points. Missed the game against Miami. Comes back against the Patriots and gets 22. So on the road at Patriots was actually like probably its best statistical game in, on the road in a harsh environment against a team had been winning. For them to go beat the Patriots, this year and put up 220 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. That's probably his best game as a pro that we're looking at just from box score watching. And, and then a 10, and then he gets hurt with he didn't finish the game against Carolina with a hurt knee with 7. So like it's either 5 points or 20. So the upside is there and the downside is there. And I wouldn't say he had an elite offensive coordinator yet in his career. He does have, the best running back behind him to take the pressure off, and he's got a stud tight end and a stud wide receiver for sure, and then a tight end with every tool that you could ever hope for. So it's there. We've just, the Falcons were a team that because of Bijan and Drake London, there was a lot of fantasy football points tied to that team, a lot of expectations. You got the 1-1 or the 1-2 in redraft and Bijan. And then you got 2 first round, a first round pick and a second round startup pick in Bijan and Drake London for Dynasty. So like people are, and then Kyle Pitts just, being Kyle Pitts, people love him or hate him. But like there's a lot of eyes on the Falcons offense. And Penix let us down a bunch of times, but sometimes it looked great. So there's a lot more people hating than there are people than Casey. That's telling you how good he can be. That's how it's been since he came out. And I'm with Chev. I think he's a good buy low. Like we know he can play football. Yeah. Do we know he can be a consistent like winning starter for 8 years? We don't know that, but we know that he's probably not the 32nd worst quarterback in the league. So I think he's a starter if healthy. And he might be on the wrong team to be starting, so he might be sitting the bench potentially if they, the way the NFL works for a year, he might be backing up somebody at next year. Who knows? But like I think he's worth a 10th round startup pick to put on my bench, and even still need a starter, but get him later on in the draft.
At 107 overall in the superflex PPR rankings, that's like 12 times 9 is 108.
Mm-hmm.
So that's somewhere around in there.
It's 10th round, yeah.
So we'll be coming with a little bit more actual relating this to we'll have ADP here very soon to kind of compare some of this stuff too. So we're working on that over maybe even the next time you see us live, we could potentially have that. But yeah, I mean, dude, I'm coming in looking at Michael Penix. You can see some of those guys around there, not crazy expensive names, right? That are kind of all around him right now in the crowdsourcing. And, I feel we're getting more and more comfortable with saying, okay, this is a comfortable range here with the crowdsource on the ffdynasty.com, because we are starting to get enough data points here to start to sort things out. So now we are getting much closer, especially in that top like 150, of saying, hey, yeah, no, I do feel fairly confident that this is reflection of the market. And that just kind of just live right there, just doing some math of what we just saw in a mock, what that all just kind of panned right out right there. Right. And so looking around, you got, Dalton Kincaid, who people are unsure of, Michael Wilson, who obviously just had a big come up. I mean, Kyle Monungai, that's not saying that these are necessarily 1-for-1 trades, but right now it's kind of where this is falling in at a, to be able to get a quarterback of what the potential of what Michael Penix is right now for that, or anywhere around that, I think is great. And then if we're kind of ranking them, I think for me, Bryce Young kind of already went through what Penix has gone through, and even through part of the season that we just saw from Bryce, there was a whole lot of question marks, and then the last taste he left in your mouth was super positive.
Right.
Pause.
Got it.
He had a lot of pineapple that day, and then we're not talking about that.
It was a really nutty load.
But I think right now, general consumer confidence is, Sam Darnold and Tyler Shough and Bryce Young all being ahead of Penix. And then after that, that's probably where I would slot Penix in, right? Because would you rather have Matthew Stafford or Michael Penix?
Wow.
Top end contender. I guess I'll take Stafford this year for the depth. And if it's anything other than I got the best team in the, it's still probably Penix. I mean, Stafford almost retired. He almost retired. Like he had a bacchiotomy, and then all of a sudden, like I hope he hurts his back again this offseason in the same exact way, because he just came in and torched it and won the MVP.
Yeah.
Dude, Stafford. God, if they won the Super Bowl, he was retiring, right?
Yeah,
probably.
Well, that's kind of what my point is. Like, yes, if you're this is why rankings to me are always a tough thing, because in general, like, yeah, you're saying, I'd rather have Stafford, but it's all just how you're constructed and what it is, and like you're giving up value from Stafford to Penix, right? There's just no two ways around it. But to somebody who's trying to win money in a triple or 4-digit buy-in league, Stafford right now is way more intriguing for your week-to-week lineup.
Oh, no doubt.
So that's always the push and pull with, and we could talk about some of these older running backs, which I wouldn't mind doing here in a minute. But that's also the push and pull is like, where do you rank these guys? Because like if I'm ranking these guys from like an assumed already built league, there's plenty of teams where I'm never even want to consider Derrick Henry. But if you're ranking him, like, you got to give your respect to Derrick Henry. And it's kind of the same with Stafford, right? Like if I'm a bottom 4 team, like there's nothing I want to do with Stafford, right? In general, value wise, but but a good team you do. So this is why it's hard. Rankings are difficult if there's not like a contextualized version of what you're plugging them into, right?
Yeah, that's
what are
absolutely
you doing as a fantasy GM, and then like that's how you start to sort your rankings. Go ahead, Big Co. My bad.
No, like Casey said it. Like if you're a bad team, you can't get rid of Stafford fast enough. If you're trying to lose and get a better draft pick, what do you need? A guy out there that can just be an MVP of the league, if that's at most playing 2 more years. We all thought he could hang it up this year, and if you talk to somebody in early August, you might not. We didn't know what he was going to be doing, taking shots to practice, right?
Right.
That's what it made it sound. I'm sure they weren't shooting him up for practice. I'm sure they were, but like it sounded like he was bubble wrapped and already hurt, and they didn't know what was going to happen the first time he got sacked and somebody landed on him, right? So like if you're trying to lose and get a better draft pick, you can ship off Stafford for pretty much anything.
Yeah.
You're probably going to make sure you don't give him to the really good team that you don't want to see win.
Sure.
Right. If I had him, I'm not giving him to Casey. I don't want to see Casey win. I'll give him somebody else cheaper.
Should he flip the 103 for Achan?
Yes.
Thumbs up from all around.
Take it.
All right. How about
what are we doing?
How about Tyler Shough?
Yeah. Let's talk about it.
Well, you lead it on this one.
So I think we all like the Kellen Moore offense, right? It's been very productive from a fantasy perspective. Justin Herbert was, I believe, on pace to be the QB1 in his one season with Kellen Moore. Jalen Hurts, bounces, good coordinator. Really good, crazy drop back efficiency, just a solid performance all around. Then we get Tyler Shough, who none of us were particularly bullish about. Like, I think all of us raised our eyebrows when we were looking at, hey, how do I feel about this? Like, how do I feel? And then he went out. I mean, he balled out, and he showed a component that's just wonderful for fantasy goodness in terms of his rushing capabilities. He had 4 straight games with at least 7 rushing attempts, and then 3 games with over 50 yards rushing. So I'm seeing him like I took him in the startup mock. I think I got him in the 5th round. And like I feel like that's really good value, but I wanted to talk about it because am I doing too much in thinking that he's going to give you low end QB1 numbers with potential spike weeks?
It would seem, and I'll be interested to see kind of what they add and what they're able to do in New Orleans here, because we know that for so long that they had been kicking this can down the road with salary caps, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have some older guys in that team who have made it pretty vocal that they don't want to go anywhere else. So, they don't really have, they can't really trade them. They don't move them, so they might be hanging out with some of those older guys potentially. But it seems like Shough continued to get better. There was some mobility. There was some rushing upside. So I think right now, like he's such a good, or good's probably a stretch. We don't know if it's good. We think there's a fun QB2 here that could really vault with Kellen Moore long term into a bottom end QB1 with upside, right? Kind of just what you said there, Chev. And this guy just said he turned in at the right time. Just offered Goff for Shough as my QB3. Goff for Shough. What do you got?
Goff
for the QB3 spot.
All right.
I mean, Shough's only a few years younger than Goff.
It's true. It's true.
So that's an important process question that we were just
right here
about.
where we're looking at it at the crowdsource rankings. Goff's 88, Shough's 90.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it kind of does that not enter into the same kind of CJ Stroud discussion where we know what Goff is. We know that if that environment changes, he's going to go back to being Rams Goff and not, top 6 quarterback in points per game. Do we want to re-roll with the younger guy in the offense that we know is going to produce for fantasy?
Well, I mean, I think Laporta, Gibbs, and St. Brown are going to be with Goff for the next couple years. That's enough right there to gives me – there's Goff's targets. I don't know what Jameson Williams doing, but those 3 guys are going to be catching passes from Jameson
Williams is locked up for a few more years too.
Did they? Yeah, that's right. They just paid him, didn't they?
Yep.
So there you go. There's 4 out of 5 eligibles right there on every down if everybody's healthy, and I'm in on Goff's floor for the next 3 years. That's the attraction of Goff. And the home games their defense can't help but get hurt. So like their lead, they're top 5 in points scored. So Goff's fantasy points are there every once in a while. When a team's getting interior pressure, right, he gets beat up. Tyler Shough, he's on my short list of things I got to really check out. Because when he's starting down the stretch of the season, week 12, 13, 14, he's making some noise, having a good time. This is the Saints who, Alvin Kamara is basically toast. They got nobody but a fun young wide receiver, but like they're playing Miami.
Johnson, don't.
That's a good point, Casey. But like, I guess what I was saying was my fantasy
better
teams. Oh, me and JJ, me and Jawan Johnson for sure, no doubt. But okay, outside of Jawan Johnson,
they got Polk.
And one team where I had Chris Olave, right? The Saints down the stretch, the heartbeat of this fantasy season, week 13 on out, they're playing Miami, Tampa Bay, Carolina, the Jets, and Tennessee, right? So like Shough's out there having the time of his life, becoming an NFL name for people to know when all we had was a bad meme from the combine last year and Todd McShay telling us that Shough could probably play because he came from those guys that, played with Louisville. That family, that quarterback family. You know what I'm talking about, Casey? Todd McShay put us on that. I'll look it up. But anyway, the Saints and Tyler Shough and Kellen Moore are having a come up down, the stretch last year, and they weren't on my TV at all. Right? I just had 4 or 5 games over them every week because they weren't playing. I didn't have any real fantasy impact from their team other than Jawan Johnson, and then all the teams they played didn't matter to me down the stretch. So I don't know. I didn't get good, hard TV live action looks at Shough in that offense, and they're
got
on my very,
medication
very
for that.
short list. Go check it out.
All right.
Yeah.
So they play. That's crazy. I caught it. That's crazy. So with Shough, I watched them play against. They played the Titans. This is our once in 4 years time that we meet, and I was expecting. So I watched the Bucks game when they played the Saints, and I watched the Titans game, and I walked away from that being like, oh, this is a bit more aggressive. He's a little bit better than what I thought, and he moves around a lot more than what I thought. That was in the midst of him doing all the running stuff where he had that 4-game straight, that 4-game block, and he manages not to end up getting checked for a concussion like Jackson Dart every time. So my thought process in saying all that was, hey, are we looking at a discounted version of Jackson Dart in an environment that we like way more with Kellen Moore versus Nagy and all those clowns that are going to be doing the deal in New York?
I can get behind a lot of that. And I think I like in general the progression of Shough last year. And I don't know that it was necessarily fair with Dart to knock him for not maybe progressing as much as Shough potentially did. I think just because of who was running the offense, different vibe, different situation, different health. Now the Saints were obviously terrible, but I think Kellen Moore at that point of, fresh new thing with Dayball older for the team, whether or not he was with, whether or not him and Dart were vibing or not, the rest of the team might have kind of grown, and then Dayball was eventually fired at the end of the season. So it was, Kafka,
100%.
right? Calling
100%.
plays. So,
two ships passing in the night. Like
right.
this. Yeah.
But I like
right.
it though. I like the comparison, and I could say, yes. I could agree with that. And I'm definitely I feel confident and bullish enough on Shough to be in on that 5th, 6th round where you're having to draft him and thinking that we could get some more ceiling.
I mean, they're taking an offensive player at 8, right?
You would think so.
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about that when we pull up the mock draft database, but I think they're taking an offensive player at 8.
Is the Braum brothers. Brian Braum played at Louisville.
Oh, yeah.
So Todd McShay was on this, and he goes, well, Todd, Shough ended up at Louisville, had his best season. Of course, he was 32 years old at the time, but he was like, Jeff and Brian, both, they're brothers. They both played quarterback, and they both coach at Louisville. And he was like, these Braum brother quarterbacks are like well known in the quarterback industry, like the Peyton Manning Academy kind of thing, Elite 11, like the Brian Braums of the world in the quarterback world are like quarterback teachers. And that's what McShay was telling us, is that Shough might have got a hold of a quarterback teacher and really had to come up. And then you fall in Kellen Moore's
right.
hand.
You get another one.
Right. And then what Casey was saying was dead on, was the Saints have been terrible for a couple years. Couple good veterans, but we know that ain't going to make it in the NFL. That might happen in the NBA where it's 5 guys on the field, but and then Kellen Moore starts playing, starts calling some plays. Olave's healthy. Tyler Shough comes to life. They weren't really looking terrible with Rattler either, So you could see the tides turning for the Saints, and the opposite was happening for the Giants. The quarterback took over the world. The wide receiver was gone. Everybody knew the head coach was a lame duck, just because, and the quarterback's banging his head and he's getting concussions and all that stuff. So the Saints were having an increase in player morale, and the Giants were having a decrease in player morale.
When you saw the shift from Rattler to Shough, you were almost like, well, what the hell did he do that for? And then, but in the first couple of games, but by the end of it, it was like, oh,
yeah,
okay. All right, word. All right, Chev. Out of that list you sent me, give me another guy or two you wanna hit before we I don't know how much longer Big Co is going to stick around. Obviously, you can stick around as long as you want, but I know you like to dip out of here relatively soon. Give me another guy or two that you want to rank here out of those.
Zay Flowers.
Say my name, say my name. Matt Kelly is around us. You know why I'm singing this song. Way back in the day, real quick, way back in the day, if you don't know this story, Zay Jones, we were giving Zay Jones some love, and me and Matt Kelly, and way back in the day, so it was like when Zay Jones was smoking K2, so it was a long time ago. Was talking shit about us because we were giving Zay Jones some love, and then in that week, Zay Jones went out and just went off and crushed it. And it was the most poetic justice that had ever happened when Podfather was at his peak of shit talking other people, which shout out to Matt. Matt's a great guy. Has really helped us out and been a solid ally in the business. But you know, then that's why we every time Zay comes up, we sing "Say My Name" because that's what he came on saying "Say my name, say my name."
Oh Lord, oh my God,
calling us idiots. And then the next week, Zay Jones was in his write up of players to add.
This is
life
true.
comes at you fast.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Chev. Return.
No,
to the
man.
Zay Flowers.
I look. I enjoy a good dunking on someone as much as humanly possible. You know that.
Yeah.
Much as humanly possible.
Yeah. I'm never not going to take a chance to do it, especially if you decide to fuck with like me or one of my friends first. Yeah. You can stand 2 feet in the paint and I'm going to put my nuts on your forehead. So, but to Zay Flowers.
Man. Real quick, I don't mean to interrupt you again. I'm sorry. But I've been watching some Larry Bird stuff of him just basically putting nuts on foreheads, and it is just the literal best.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. Like
it's so good. Like just the Dream Team story where he's all still like his back's all fucked up and the boys are talking shit and he's just like, oh word, and like you can see Magic kind of being like, oh, they're talking shit to Larry, and then Larry like goes on like 8 in a row just calling shots, being like, he's like man, they got a 6'6" guy on me, that ain't gonna work. It's just
it was Rodney Rogers,
yeah. which RIP, I think.
No, he's I think he's got ALS.
He's not doing well.
RIP.
Yeah.
It's
Not
great.
It's outside of that part of the clip, it's an awesome clip, and then there's other ones of just
it's him and Mashburn are the two victims.
Yeah,
and that's what they are. It's just victims because you're fucking helpless.
Victims. Mm-hmm. So if you go check that out. So sorry, this you may proceed.
Are you sure?
I'm done.
Right, cut you off for Larry Bird.
I mean, Larry
Bird's so good.
Awesome. There's that Larry Bird is one of my favorite players. One, because I talk an insane amount of shit when I compete in anything.
It was the nutsacks and the shit and the dunking on people, and I was like, oh, I gotta give Larry a shot.
Yes. 1000%. Like I talk an insane amount of shit when I compete in anything in real life. So I like growing up knowing that, like how much shit he used to talk. It was like, yeah. I found my tribe. There is what I like. That's what I want. But so Zay Flowers, Casey, you know that I've been pretty out on Zay Flowers from a fantasy perspective because of the fact that like they didn't use him in the low red zone. I felt like his touchdown upside was capped, and his ceiling from a target ceiling perspective was capped. But now, with Declan Doyle coming in, we just talked about like all the changes they're going to make offensively. Just imagine Zay Flowers being able to just run unimpeded down the field, like catching deep bombs from Lamar Jackson with nobody. Just you're going to have 8 people in the box because Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. So you're just single coverage, running around, just doing cool stuff. And we're going to get a big ADOT. We're going to get more target volume, I would assume. And we're going to get easy targets. And we're going to get deep targets. Yeah, it might be time. Like
it's time, huh? All right. All right.
I'm comfortably taking him ahead of all the receivers right there, just right there in front of him right now.
Luther Burden's one ahead of him.
Yep.
No, I'll take Burden.
Ooh.
I'm taking
he's Luther before Luther. He'd been Luther.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's
yeah. I'm taking Zay Flowers.
That's Zay Vandross right there.
Yeah. Bro, I
Zay Vandross.
You talk about aggressive visions. When I realized that they hired Declan Doyle and what they've been doing in terms
Explain that to the audience, Chev, and me, what Declan Doyle means for Zay Flowers, please.
So Declan Doyle,
other than crazy sounding name, it sounded like he was on some.
Yeah, he sounds like a character from the IRA season of Sons of Anarchy.
He's been with Sean Payton and Ben Johnson.
Yes. So
good names. Good names.
Outstanding coaching lineage. Plus the fact we've seen what it looks like. We've seen what it looks like in Chicago, where they've reined in a wild stallion. Now Lamar's already much further down the development path. Hall of Fame trajectory quarterback. And now he's getting like if they're going to implement the coolest parts of the Chicago system that made Caleb Williams more effective on deep shots and being able to create off of play action and stuff, this is so much signal for Zay Flowers that it's unbelievable. Like it's going to make things easier from a pass game perspective because it's all detail oriented. It's all timing based. And Zay Flowers, one, has the ability to function as an Amon-Ra St. Brown, slot merchant, but also he can get deep. He's one of the most talented receivers in the league. I've never not said that. It's just
I gotta stick my arms up in the air and just let the Holy Spirit wash over me when you say that.
Yeah, bro. I've never had my issues were with the environment, just like my issues were with Marvin Harrison's environment. But now I think that we're taking a step towards him being, him getting to that 130, 135 target range with, some deep shots built in. And we've seen Mark Andrews kind of take a step back. Isaiah likely is going to be gone. So he moves up the turn, like the red zone target totem pole.
We can't just so likely out. We just gave, he might be back.
Maybe.
He's out. He's not coming
out.
back.
Maybe. Hey, if my aunt had wheels, that'd make her a wheelchair, wouldn't it?
She expects him home any minute. Ray ain't coming home.
So, but yeah, I feel like we're at a point now where it's just kind of, oh, well, he just is what he is. And he could make a massive leap. And I feel like he's vastly undervalued because he was wide receiver 7 overall, but for the most part, during the parts of fantasy where you score points, he was just wide receiver 30 every week. Yeah. But that's no Lamar. That's him, it was a weird season that ended up being good because of week 18. But I think we could get way more consistency and ceiling performance in 2026, especially with Declan Doyle coming in, installing some of the things that you've seen in Chicago. They'll have the deep shot things built in because Zay Flowers can do that too. Mm-hmm. That, you saw Marvin Mims do with Sean Payton. Not that they're comparable in any way other than speed, but he can do all those things, which makes him really exciting because he has an offense that could call for him to do all those things.
Yeah. In a ranking situation here, I mean, between PPR and Superflex and Superflex tight end premium, he's one spot difference, right? He's 24 and 25. Zay Flowers, that is. If going back to the first question of the night, if you could flip Rashi for Zay, would you do that right now?
I wouldn't want to.
Let's put yourself in the first caller's shoes of kind of where he was at. If somebody like him who seems to be maybe a little more worried, would that be an okay kind of sell low, right?
I think
that would be a sell low worst case scenario for me.
Okay. That's selling at 62 cents on the dollar.
That's way too low. Facility. I'll be right back.
Yeah. That's selling. Yep. Hey, don't let the tickle shits get you, bud. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
So, all right. So let me ask you this, Co. What do you think is a good enough plus to get back with Zay Flowers to come off Rashee Rice? And do you think it actually happens?
The problem is we don't really know how Zay Flowers is going to operate in this offense that's supposed to be ridiculously good for him. We hope so. We can hope. And we can, the numbers don't lie. He didn't miss any games, and he had targets in every single game, a handful, a bunch. So he's wide receiver 7. But in points per game, and especially like putting him in your lineup, you don't be upset. Week 8 to 12, that's, sounds like 4 weeks, but it's really 5. So, but 14, 11, 12, 11, 11. Like, that's not killing you. All right, I'll just 28 points week 1. Zay Flowers is the best in the world. He's league winner. 14 week 2, 3 points in week 3. 14, 12, 8 bye week. 14. This is all PPR, of course. 14, 11, 12, 11, 11, a half a point. 20, 15, 21, 13, 29. So, ended the season awesome. 3 out of 4 last 4 games, he had a touchdown and one, and then in week 18, that was 2 of them. You pick and choose which week 18 games you let stay in or stay out. It mattered for Pittsburgh. It was a playoff game for both teams. So I know it's just one. Like I'm more of a Jameson Williams guy. They're side by side, but like you can't argue with the amount of targets that he's getting. It just the touchdowns are a thing, right? And when he got touchdowns, he was a wide receiver 1. When he wasn't getting touchdowns, he was a wide receiver 2, and sometimes a wide receiver 3. So it's not bad. It's just like that. We haven't seen consistent.
I hate that argument so much.
Well, you don't even know what argument I was making. You came in and you heard me say that he didn't make any touchdown. No, it was part of the last thing that I said for 3 or 4 minutes. Like you don't get, because there's a whole bunch of 11-point games on there, and it's like he's part of the offense, and he's getting.
How was that first
targets.
half of the year with Jameson Williams?
Oh, that was no. That was
Jameson Williams wasn't even getting targets.
Until they basically made him get. They were like, whoa, he's got to call plays now. So now you got another guy taking over plays, and if JMO is 3rd and the 4th in the pecking order, it might go right back to being exactly kind of what you're seeing with what you're saying about Zay, where if you're not getting touchdowns, it ain't going to be good for JMO. Whereas the tide might be turning for Zay of
maybe
target percentage, right? And I think that's Chev's argument, where he's changing his opinion of kind of how he views Zay's usage, right?
I mean, target percentage, I'd be surprised if he could go higher for Zay. He's a 3rd of the targets already. There's not a lot of targets is the problem.
Okay, so in 2020
as a team for a whole.
Yeah, I got you. So in 2024, on 474 attempts, Zay Flowers is like 116 targets. Like, I think that number could stay around. The attempts could probably go around close to 500. And
that's 25%. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's not. I mean, like, we could get into the 27 or 28% range. Like, that's where to me, there's a pocket of value where you can get a ceiling outcome where you're getting a 27 or 28% target share, because Zay Flowers is a guy that's capable of commanding that type of target share. That's what I'm saying. That's why I feel like he's a little bit mispriced. We've gotten some new information in terms of, all right, the offensive coordinator changed. They're letting one of the pass catching weapons go. Another pass catching weapon kind of took a step back. We know who the alpha is in terms of commanding targets, and we just got some targets vacated. So could it go from 118 where it was this year to 140? And what does that mean for Zay Flowers? I don't even care if it goes to 140. If you go to 130, if you give him 10 end zone targets, he's going to be a wide receiver 1.
On this screen that we're looking at, on this screen we're looking at right now, we see Zay Flowers and we see Jameson Williams and Rashee Rice. Jay, go up above that.
I'm controlling it.
Okay, so Luther Bird and Brian Thomas, Marvin Harrison, and some rookies and Rome Odunze. So I think Zay Flowers is priced pretty right, and rich. Like the only people in front of him are rookies that we can't wait to your top 3 wide receivers that people love.
Yeah, I would say properly priced there. I would agree with that.
Like
in
Rasheed
this
Rice,
setting.
Luther on this screen right here. Those rankings have. I don't see any disrespect going on for Zay Flowers' value right there. At wide receiver 24, literally a wide receiver 2 with just a couple of rookies in front of him. And,
that's right around where I have him ranked. I mean, I got him at 24.
Yeah, I think I had him at 19. When I
19.
I don't know. I gotta go back and look. We text so damn much.
But I'm with you though.
I text you a list.
This could be, a potential jump of what Zay Flowers means to the Ravens as far as week in, week out, and kind of what he does for them, right? Because I think everybody is in agreement that, like you said, Chev, maybe one of the most talented receivers in the league, right? He's really hard to guard, and he can do it both short or long, right?
Whoa.
Go down a little bit. See the next 4 or 5 receivers, please. So if they see anybody, I'd take over him. I mean,
AJ Brown.
Yeah.
Do you take AJ?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm taking Zay Flowers.
I think I would take Zay too.
So what I was saying was, okay, so I'm definitely taking him over. I'm definitely taking him over everybody in this range. And then in the other range, I would take him over Rome. I would take him over Luther Burden. I would take him over Brian Thomas. I would take him over. I wouldn't take him over Rasheed Rice, but Rasheed Rice doesn't belong in this range. We know why he's there. Mm-hmm. And I would take him over Jameson Williams. And I've been screaming from the mountaintops about Jameson Williams for a year.
Sure.
But we got negative information about Jameson Williams, and we got good information, what we think is good information about good feedback about Zay Flowers. So that's kind of the basis. They're very similar players. So I want to take the guy that I want to bet on their offense a little bit more, or where they stand in their offense a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think when you look at this, when you look at that screen there, and then we drop down, and obviously, we get into the 30s here. Like, I think it all, we're saying, well, Zay Flowers is at 25. That's pretty high. But then when you get down here and you start looking at the rest of the receivers, you go, well, he's basically like right now the last one before these other guys who aren't even on the same level as, maybe somebody like DK or Pearsall or Addison could get there with the right amount of targets. But then you scroll through this list and you're like, well, maybe this list is a little off because, new site or whatever. But it's not, you scroll down and it's, you get through 29, and then it's 2 rookies and Jaden Higgins, DK Metcalf, Addison.
Yeah, I think the last of what Chev was saying about the position in their offense is a big deal. Like, Zay Flowers is obviously WR1 for the Ravens and going to lead in the targets. Jameson Williams on any given Sunday is target 3 or 4 on a team that's throwing the ball more on average. So
for sure,
and, and completion percentage a little bit higher, right? This from what we just saw from Goff and what we saw from the Ravens offense. There's no doubt about it. Lamar Jackson is a way better quarterback than Jared Goff. Just Jared Goff is sometimes completes 30 passes.
Jared
in the game,
Goff can run the system better than Lamar.
Yeah, but
Jared Goff
with
Ben Johnson, and Lamar Jackson with Ben Johnson.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be right. Ben's going to create a different system with Lamar Jackson, right?
But the thing is like, dude, if we had those are great names, and that dude that you said, but Big Dick Declan, whatever his name is, it comes over here.
Big Declan, like insane.
It's not. It's not Ben Johnson, which is another hilarious name if you think about it in context of this conversation, Mr. Big Ben Johnson, right? So. But it's not Ben Johnson. It might be Ben Johnson. It might be Liam Cohen. We didn't know Liam Cohen until we knew Liam Cohen. Sure. He's not Sean Payton, right? If he turns out to be 75% of those 2 guys is offensive success and play calling and scheming guys open and making space, like, fantastic stock up for Zay Flowers. And we don't know, what the Ravens are really going to do in free agency and what they're going to do in the draft, bringing in offensive weapons. Right now, there's no doubt about it. Zay Flowers is getting more targets than Jameson Williams next year. It's just Jameson Williams just seems to average 20 yards a catch, right? It just
Boys, they can too.
He can, but like even the second half of the year,
I don't even think we necessarily want him to. We just want those longs to be good. Like we want the volume to go down low to him with the St. Brown, and then mix in some JMO of a
just like
see, Casey, you see what I see.
Laporta was hurt, but just like the last 6 games of the season, like Jameson Williams, it was a whole bunch of 18s and 22s.
I think here's the thing. Like if you basically what we're saying right now is we're saying that Zay, at least Chev and I maybe are kind of saying like JMO is turning more into what Zay Flowers was, right?
Yes.
And
because why?
Zay Flowers is moving maybe more into a main dude role, right? Like the main character.
Okay, let me cook here. Okay, so to your point, Big Co, yes, Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown were dead heat. They were separated by 35 yards over the course of weeks 10 to 18, 863 yards to 828 yards. Jameson Williams over that time span generated the most plays of 40 yards, 50 yards, 20 yards, the catches of 20 yards. He was on fire. Okay. But then they fired what's his fuck, whoever they are, John Morton, who the offensive coordinator was, but he was just kind of a lame duck anyway. They brought in Drew Petzing, who's Ben Johnson's buddy. And I think that there's elements that he put on display that they want to get back to in terms of using 12 personnel, the multiple tight ends, kind of relying more, getting back to the smash mouth run game, all that stuff. Now, flip side, Zay Flowers is capable of doing the same. He could be the perfect blend of both of the receivers in Detroit, and there's nobody else that we're threatened by from a target capacity perspective for the Ravens.
Sure.
So you could get him mixed in, getting 8 to 10 targets a game in an offense that's the passing game is going to be built around him, and now we could get him actually getting end zone targets, which he's been one of the lowest targeted receivers in the end zone over the course of the last
positive regression.
Yeah. And so he hasn't scored touchdowns. I've been screaming that from the mountaintops. That was one of the things I said on the episode with Joey Stats is like, guys, I understand that he is very good at football, but from a fantasy perspective, you can't create me a path outside of just like an outlier outcome where he scores a bunch of long touchdowns, where he's going to be targeted with the ability to score touchdowns, like end zone targets, low red zone targets, targets inside the 10, targets inside the 5. Those are going to Mark Andrews or Derrick Henry's running the ball in. You got a Hall of Fame running back. You got the all-time leading touchdown receiver in Ravens history. That's changing because Mark Andrews has clearly fallen off a cliff. Likely could be gone. I know.
Probably add another tight end though.
They probably add another tight end, but who knows?
We don't know how high end
if his football is good. We know Zay Flowers' football is good. The Ravens know Zay Flowers' football is good. So I wanted to discuss it because I think that he's going to be one of my most aggressive buys this offseason.
All right, Big Co. What do you got?
No, I think he's in line for plenty of targets, and there's a lot of consistency there. And if there is a bump in, I say we all know, like just the Ravens offense, Lamar got hurt. Like there was a drop off for sure this year. Lamar got hurt and everything didn't go like the Ravens wanted it to. So like take away all the games where Lamar was either hurt, barely playing, just a decoy, and the backup quarterback throwing in the ball too. And now you potentially get a bump up in offensive coordinator and, scheme and X's and O's. And if all that plays out correctly, then yeah, Zay Flowers could have a nice bump up here. And from where he started, that could be really, really good. I see the arguments and I can see where this is going. I just, again, we talked about
7 last year with restrictions.
There are plenty of restrictions.
That's what I was saying.
There was a bunch of good wide receivers that got hurt. That did, but Zay was out there every week and could have been in your lineup. But I think at a very, very, if the window was there at all, it would have been very, very tight. I don't think you would have been able to get Jameson Williams in a trade straight up for Zay Flowers, maybe if at all ever last year, right? So this year coming
in the beginning of the season for sure.
They're
not for
sitting
sure,
side
but
by
it's
side.
likely, you know, because Jameson was just doing nothing, and it looked like they signed him, and oh man, what's happening? And then
Yeah, I'm a Jameson Williams over Zay Flowers
Yeah,
guy. Currently,
I don't think
know,
anybody is vehemently against either one of these guys, and kind of view them with easily similar production. It's just who's going to get more opportunity, and it seems like it could be turning to more of a Zay Flowers. I think that's kind of the synopsis of this argument for me.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. In week 1 this year, if everything stays the same right now, that I would think Zay Flowers gets more targets.
All right, so we're going to click Zay Flowers on this one. If you're not familiar with the ffdynasty.com, go over there, check it out. But this is how we generate the crowdsource rankings, right? On this one, we're just going to stay on Zay Flowers, but you go in there, you click the cloud source, you pick what you want to use as far as one quarterback, super flex, PPR, tight end, premium. We also have rookie swipes, but this is how we create the crowdsource rankings, right? You come in here and you swipe or click. And so I think, you know, we're going to go 2 against 1 on that one. All right, Zay Flowers or Cam Ward, Chev?
Yeah, Cam Ward.
Woof. What do you think, Big Co?
Cam Ward.
Okay.
But I mean, Zay Flowers is going a round or 2 before him right now, I think, you know, in a startup. Side by side, I take the quarterback, but I mean, Zay Flowers is a consistent, you know, flex starter at worst.
Yeah. All right. No premium Flowers or Laporta. Flowers, right?
Yeah.
Premium, we're having a discussion. All right. Early first in 26 or Zay Flowers?
Early first.
I'll take Zay Flowers.
You know, I'm hyped on Zay right now, so I'll ride with you.
Losing that.
All right, you don't even know about the rookies all the way yet.
If it's early, I know enough. I know enough. I know y'all just lost some good value right there, not knowing how to play this game.
Hey, you're right. All right.
Hey,
that pick could be really cool. It could even be Zay Flowers. You're right.
It could even be Zay. All right, I'm taking Zay here. Mikhail, there we go. All right, now we got an actual face to the name for radio. What do we say here? I mean, obviously we know this is, again, Big Co, you bring up another good point of the rankings being tough. Like, look, we know that Lemon is worth more than Zay Flowers right now. We know that for sure. You can write that however you want to do it. He's worth more, right?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean he's worth more when we're playing this year or for the next 3 years, you know?
I mean,
there's, if you're running the value game, then yes, it's Mikhail Lemon in the early first, 100%. But like, if we're playing the like, hey, I feel really confident in this player, and he can definitely do everything that these guys at the top 4 picks can do. Yes, the answer is yes for me on Zay on that one. What you got, Chev?
Okay, let's process the pick, right? Early first. Okay. If that guy turns in, I don't know, just throw out a random number, a top 7 fantasy season during his rookie contract, do you feel like that's a win?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure, of course.
Yeah. So yeah, give me Zay Flowers.
All right, we got Marv or Flowers here.
It's the.
What do you think? Who do you like here, Big Co?
Sorry, I was looking at some other stuff. I saw somebody just said they got a 2027 first. They gave up Worthy and K9. I just gave up my 27 first for K9 and Worthy, and I thought that was a very similar trade. I thought that guy was in the same league as us. I wanted to look at that real quick to see if he was in our league. That would have been a cool shout out. I mean, should probably take Marvin Harrison there.
All right, Zay Flowers or Devonta Smith? It's Zay for me.
It's Zay Flowers. It was Zay Flowers on the other one too, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I already knew you for sure were over Marv, and I can go either way on that one.
I'd rather have Devonta Smith, all things equal, in this trade right here, but it's not.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, in a vacuum,
AJ Brown versus I got it.
In a
Zay
vacuum,
Flowers.
Yeah.
Nico or Zay Flowers?
Oh, Nico. All right, boys, I got to hop out of here.
All right.
Don't you be hesitating, Nico versus Zay Flowers, okay? My boys, take care of yourself.
All right, we'll see you next week.
See you, bud.
Later.
All right, let's go. You want to look at a mock draft real quick before we get out of here, or you want to dip out?
Man, I've been waiting to look at the fucking mock draft this whole time.
That's called what we call in the industry a teaser. After the break, we're gonna play a quick commercial. We're gonna put up the mock. All right, let's get rid of this. All right, we're just going to bring up the most recent one that I can find here on this. And away we go. All right, so we got Mendoza to the Raiders. Your boy Ruben Bain. Then you guys take Carnell Tate at 4. How would that make you feel taking Carnell Tate at 4?
If we're going to take a skill position, just take Jeremiah Love.
Jeremiah Love goes at 8 to the Saints.
Like I have my thoughts. They're aggressive. If I had my big board, thinking about it, like just thinking through it, like in this range here. So to me, Josh Downs is the best football player in the draft. You know, I would say Jeremiah Love second, Ruben Bain, then Carnell Tate. That's where Carnell Tate would land for me.
All right.
So, yeah, if we're going to take a skill position, take Jeremiah Love.
All-Star Andrew FF says, what's up? What's up, man? Appreciate you. Jeremiah Love goes to the Saints. Then we got Jordan Tyson, 9 to the Chiefs.
That's fun.
That is pretty fun.
You got to be prepared for some ridiculous takes to get thrown out there if he goes there.
If the Chief, you think the Chiefs are drafting a receiver at 9? I don't.
No, I don't. Not at all. Not even a little bit.
If Jeremiah Love's there, do they do that? I don't think so.
No.
It would be awesome though.
It creates a 2026 glut though, because they have his skill set is very similar, and the way that he was deployed in college is very similar to the way that they use Rashee Rice. So are you going to line him up and make him play just X receiver and do all the dumb shit Tyquan Thornton was doing? Mm-hmm. Like him and Hollywood Brown? Like, I don't think that's maximizing your top 10 pick skill set. Rashee Rice isn't going away. Well, maybe he's not going away, but
maybe.
Yeah, it's hard. Maybe, but I don't think that, I mean, Travis Kelce's coming back. So it would create a glut. Obviously, we're all super horned up because Patrick Mahomes is one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen, and just giving him another weapon lends itself to that weapon and Patrick Mahomes. Kind of a rising tide lifts all boats. So you feel really good about that, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're going to switch up coordinator a little bit, and you know, I don't know how much pull either Nagy or Bieniemy have in, like, how much of it is just Andy Reid's system, and then we're kind of running the plays and scheming things a little bit, or is, you know, how much say do they have in what they run? I guess as far as schematically, I said I'm open question. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like, they targeted their slot position at the highest rate in the NFL last year. And
I guess what I was saying real quick with that point was, like, if you're drafting Tyson, you should be reinventing your offense a little to do things that benefit both him and Rice, right? It'd be, you know, there's, you know, I do think he can win downfield. Like, he's awesome in the air. If you throw, like, he's incredible.
He's an acrobat for sure.
Right. So, but yeah, no, that would be interesting. Love to the Chiefs would also be really fun, right? That might finally give you that Chiefs running back that we've all been waiting for seemingly 25 years.
They can make up for the Jonathan Taylor mistake.
Oh, that maybe they could. So there's your boy Caleb Downs to the Bengals. Lemon to the Ravens. That would really ruin all of our plans for Saturday.
Hate it so much.
So with a passion. Big Co just smirked like the fucking Grinch.
Dude, I think I think the Ravens are probably taking Caleb Banks there because they were listening to Eric DeCosta talk, and he recognized that they were a little thin on the D line without Justin Nnamdi Madubuike last year. So I think they're going trenches. This is a really fun.
Ravens got to go trenches. Go trenches.
Yeah. Become Wrath. Go trenches.
Take a shot on a wide receiver later, or get a free agent or something, or just keep Likely.
Don't do that.
Run Bateman and Flowers out there and do your thing. Although Tez Walker had a couple of decent flashes.
8 career catches, 5 career touchdowns, baby.
Yeah.
I've been trying to grab him in the last round of best ball drafts, just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Just in case. If I'm switching that last round pickup, like like we're doing the rabbit stuff on fast draft, like
sure.
I'm grabbing Devontae Walker every now and then. Like the auto pick has been Godwin for the most part, but yeah.
If check out Fast Draft, use promo code FFD, or you can go over to FFPC and use promo code FFD. Orphans are popping off over there. Startups are starting over there. It's definitely my favorite way to play bigger money leagues without having to find a bunch of Twitter yahoos to play with, because pretty much never folds. So go check out FFPC if you haven't. We're back lightly partnered up with them for the season here. All right, then Boston goes to the Jets. So I don't know how I feel about Boston yet. Some days I'm really in, and other days I'm like,
So Boston is you got to grade to the flashes to really get excited about him, because if you look at the things that he doesn't do well, there's 20 guys you can point to in the NFL that struggle with the things that he's not good at. But the things that he's good at, there aren't 20 guys in the league that are good at those things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So no other skills in there. Let's see.
No Kenyon Sadiq. Where's Kenyon Sadiq?
No Sadiq, but Kevin Concepcion goes to the Browns at 24. So he just went, Monken just went, got himself another Zay Flowers.
And that's when we were texting and you said, man, I feel like Marcel, 3 different people who have watched KC Concepcion have come back, and we were discussing, and they said, the Texas A&M quarterback was awful. And it hurt my heart because he's from Tennessee. But yeah, when you watch it, you can clearly see that KC was, I'll put it like this. If you gave KC Concepcion, Jaden Mayava, the USC quarterback this year, and you gave Makai Lemon, Marcel Reed, I feel like KC would be in the conversation for wide receiver 1.
Whew, I can put my arms up again.
I just
let it wash over me.
That's the takeaway in watching KC Concepcion and watching Makai Lemon. You pointed that out, and it's consistent. And it's not just, so I've watched him and Jacoby Lane, and it's consistent. Like he's throwing the ball to spots where only that guy can get it. And, Makai Lemon just goes and gets the ball regardless. Oh, there he is. There Kenyon Sadiq is.
So we got
off.
Sadiq to the Broncos and Ty Simpson to the Rams. Let's talk about Sadiq first. I think this is like, hasn't been obviously chasing it for that long, but like we've been dying for Sean Payton to get a hold of his new offensive piece that is just going to be peppered with a ludicrous amount of targets, right? And I thought it was going to be Evan Ingram this year because of just kind of the style of play that Evan Ingram has. He just seemed like it was going to fit perfectly, and it was not. It was awful. It was a terrible. But, this would be like, oh, could we get it so right now? Would this be absolutely awesome? Could we do sick shit with him, put him in the backfield, move him around, throw it to him out of the, scheme him up all sorts of different ways? Obviously, that would be just, light work. But like Sadiq there with him, pants off is probably a proper descriptor.
Yeah, it's aggressive. I will be aggressively. I said like 103, 104. Him with Sean Payton I don't know. I might ascend to the great cement aisle in the sky. All right. I might be levitating above the cement. I might never come down if he lands at the Broncos. The Bucks is the other spot. So he got mocked at 15 to the Bucks probably like a few weeks ago. So we're removed from that now. So he's back. I mean, I've seen him a few times get mocked to the Broncos. I wish the NFL visit tracker dude did a better job keeping up with who's talked to who at the Senior Bowl and all this other stuff. But yeah, I'm ridiculously bullish about Kenyon Sadiq, and I will accept no further questions at this time.
Simpson to the Rams seems to be just very, 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 very chalk currently.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would assume there's either some smoke there or that's pretty real because it's too much, or they've just got a good plant out there with the Rams.
Yeah, Ty Simpson.
It does make sense.
Ty Simpson's agent is doing crazy propaganda work right now. I mean, I like Ty Simpson, but I don't like quarterbacks that only play for 1 year in college.
Sure. I mean, that's not my favorite either. I do think, and these are just rookie swipes over at the ffdynasty.com. You can go look at those and just swipe on the rookies for this class. What were we just talking about?
We were talking about how we don't.
Ty Simpson.
Yeah.
One quarterback in the league, or one year a quarterback, but he's somebody who would, if he went to Stafford and Stafford played for another year or two, that's obviously you can't replicate reps, right? But you can be in a system and learn how to be a professional from a professional and have a really good coach and put you in a really good lane to, try to success that person and succeed, right? So that makes a lot of sense. What we saw from Simpson through chunks of the season was awesome. And then there was, some ups and downs and then an injury, right? And so it's sort of a supply and demand too, right? There's not a lot of quarterbacks to choose from. And
he comes out next year, he's a QB7.
Right.
Right
now he could sneak into the first.
He could get first round money. I mean, you get a first round evaluation, then you've only started 14 games, 15 games.
Yeah.
Go get your bag, please. Because here's the deal. He couldn't go back to Bama. Like Austin Mack and Keelan Russell were pushing him out the door. So sure, it seems very, very fortunate that he got first round feedback from NFL, from the advisory committee, because if he's transferring if he goes back to college. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. I really liked what I saw from him early in the season. Like you said, it kind of wavered, tapered once we got into the dog days and teams had tendencies on tape. And I want to see if he's got the wherewithal. I mean, he's doing all the, setting the protections. He understands all that, which is great. That kind of puts a leg up in terms of, adjusting to the NFL, but still, I don't like it when they have less than 20 starts.
Yeah. Yeah. And looking at ffdynasty.com rookie rankings here from the Crowdsourced Superflex PPR, the first round kind of looks like Jeremiah Love, Tate, Tyson, Lemon, Mendoza, Sadiq, Concepcion, Boston, Jonah Coleman, Cooper, there's Simpson, and then Surratt with Emmett Johnson coming in at 13 and Jadarian Price coming in at 14 right now in the crowdsource. How close is that to kind of where you're at? I know Emmett Johnson would be up here higher, right?
Yeah, Emmett Johnson would be up there with Sadiq.
Okay. And then Cooper would be a little higher.
Cooper would be right behind KC.
Mm-hmm.
Boston's ahead of John and Coleman. And then, we can bump up Surratt and Chris Bell and potentially Mike Washington.
All right, let's do a couple swipes and get out of here.
Hell yeah.
All right, KC Concepcion or Jonah Coleman. We're going to go KC. Klubnik or Eric McAllister? We're going to go McAllister.
Yeah.
Suck it, Jason. Another Clemson guy, Adam Randall or Desmond Reed.
I mentioned Desmond Reed as a guy to watch out for at the combine this week.
It should be really fast, right?
But we go Adam Randall here because he also could be very fast, and he's 230 pounds.
All right, this is not tight end premium. I know McAllister's got some fun stuff. A lot of people kind of like Delp. If it was premium, would you go Delp, or are you sticking with McAllister? No,
I still got McAllister.
Okay. Singleton or Skylar Bell?
Skylar Bell for me.
I love what I've been seeing from Skylar Bell.
Yeah, I'll send you.
He's old.
I finished a bunch of his games, and I liked what I saw.
So I can go. You can undo. I'm back to Sadiq in Boston. It's not tight end premium. Does that change it for you?
I still got Sadiq.
Okay. Luke Altmaier or Talon Green. So what is that? And Altmaier is
Illinois quarterback. Yeah,
he's not terrible.
It's sneaky. He's not terrible, but Talon Green.
That's just like athleticism that you're betting on here, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sadiq or Omar Cooper. No tight end premium. I think I'm going Cooper.
I'm going Omar Cooper.
Okay. KC Concepcion or Ty Simpson.
Yeah.
All right. Journey.
No tight end premium.
No tight end premium. It's Stowers or Bernard.
Yeah.
And so if it was premium,
Eli Stowers.
Okay.
Eli Stowers is the Aronde Gadsden, Harold Fannin, big slot tight end type. Like he's the profile that succeeds in fantasy from a fantasy perspective today.
Yeah.
Jamar Taylor.
I like Taylor. I like what I've been seeing from Taylor.
Yeah.
I don't mind Nussmeier though as a developmental. Cole Payton, people like him a lot.
Yeah. It's weird. He's left-handed though. I don't trust it.
I don't know much about Reggie Virgil, so I'm not gonna lie.
I do. I like Reggie Virgil a lot.
Where's Reggie Virgil from?
Texas Tech.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Deion Burks, Oklahoma. He's fun. I don't know a whole lot about
Daniel Jeremiah loves Deion Burks.
Ooh.
I haven't watched.
He's fun.
I haven't watched Deion Burks a lot yet, just because I was like, man, I don't. But I have watched a lot of Kevin Coleman. I like
Drew Allen is never the answer. I just
never, not even if there's a fire. I mentioned him on the Combine Risers because I was like, man, we're gonna get out there. He's gonna do the measurements, and people are going to be falling all over themselves. Just losing their shit, gobbling him up.
All right, so I don't know much about Kevin Coleman. I'm going to go Deion Burks here, though. If you've got a Kevin Coleman pitch for me.
I like Kevin Coleman. I think.
Where's he from?
Missouri.
Okay.
He popped off the broadcast film, and then I did one of his games, and I really like it. I'll go Oscar Delp there.
Texas or
Georgia.
Texas tight end or Georgia tight end.
Yeah.
KC over Boston. Zachariah Branch or Jacoby Lane?
Jacoby Lane.
I'm going to have a hard time not liking Zachariah Branch. I can tell you that right now.
Man, just once you watch the games, you'll understand why I feel the way I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. You're back in the good graces, Vikings fan. He said Branch easy. Course it is. Drew Aller or Daquan Wright? Wright's kind of fun, right?
I haven't watched a single second of Daquan Wright. I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't even gotten to real tight ends yet outside of Stowers. And
Anybody but Aller. That's my click philosophy.
That's perfectly fine. And I feel like that's a very safe and positive thing to do.
Shout out to you, Speckle. We're doing fine.
Give me injury. What is no tight end premium?
No
Superflex.
Yep.
Yeah, give me injuries.
I don't think I've ever picked Miller Moss. Maybe I'm wrong here. All right, Chris Bell, Mike Washington, last one.
Chris Bell
over Mike Washington. Okay. Katron Allen or Ted Hurst?
Katron.
I thought you were a big Hurst guy.
I am.
You just feel safe with Katron?
Man, I think Katron is going to. It's a very limited skill set, but I mean, I think Katron's gonna be real. I think Ted Hurst is gonna be really good. I was talking to a buddy of mine who's on the Georgia State staff, and the Georgia State staff has come out and said that they think he could be the best receiver that they've ever coached. So I like Ted Hurst a lot, but Katron's so much safer, and he could get earlier opportunity.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap this one up. If you haven't checked it out yet, go check out the ffdynasty.com. Good crowdsource rankings, fun, interactive. You can swipe as you've been seeing on the screen. If you're listening on the podcast, like go check it out. It's kind of like Dynasty Tinder, right? On the phone, you can actually swipe. On the computer, obviously, you got to click if it's not a touch screen. I like to click personally. But like I said, rookie swipes are out there. Crowdsource rankings are out there for most formats. Then you got mover rankings, which is going to tell you where people have been over the last 3 days, 10 days, month, year. We're going to have expert rankings hitting it soon. There's a trade tool. There's power ranking upgrades, and they're constantly being upgraded and adding things. And then you have personal rankings, right? After 1,000 swipes, it starts to add personal rankings in. Now, you're going to have to dial those in past like the top 100, top 150, because it's kind of designed to give you, when you sign up, more higher end swipes off the rip. And so eventually I think we're going to have a tool where you can just swipe on the back 150 or from 150 on, so that you can dial in your personal rankings a little quicker. But yeah, go check it out, sign up, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. But I'm really, really excited for the personal rankings of just coming on this site and using it a couple times a day. Right. And then it's going to kind of tell you, whether you think it or not, it's going to tell you who you clicked over time and show you like, you might have to do some soul searching when you're taking a hot shower one night and battle with yourself of like, well, I thought I liked Jamison Williams, but I really like Zay Flowers. And the clicks are telling me I like Zay Flowers,
That's right.
So make sure you go check it out. Appreciate you guys. We'll catch you next week. And, got the combine this weekend, so be busy. See ya.
Hell yeah.